Hello everyone and welcome to this week's Facebook Live. Welcome to all of you who are actually watching this live today, and also if you're watching later on the replay, then welcome to you as well. For those who are new here and haven't met me before, my name is David Miles, and I'm on a mission to help mortgage brokers, financial advisors and other financial services professionals to generate a consistent flow of leads from their own websites so as they can stop stressing about where their next client is coming from. Now today, to help me guide you further down that particular journey, I'm joined by a special guest. Her name is Gail Garland from a company called Digital, and she's going to be talking to us all about social media and how you can use social media to grow your financial services business online. Just before I get to Abigail and introduce her, just so as I know that the chat and everything is working, if you are watching, could you just put something in the chat, just say hello, or put hashtag live or hashtag replay to tell us if you're watching this right now or whether you're watching it later on, and that will just reassure me that that my iPad that's down here is working and bringing up the questions. As we go through the event, do put any comments or questions in the chat. And today, because basically all I've got to do today is answer the questions, and Abigail's doing all the hard work, hopefully I will be in a much better position to keep an eye on the comments. And if I see questions come in there, then as long as they look friendly and not too hard, I will throw those at Abigail as well as we go through the session. So without further ado then, hello Claire, hello Ian, thank you for your comments. Hi to you. So without further ado, let's move over then and say hello to Abigail. So Abigail, thanks very much for coming on and joining us today. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got, what you do, how you got into this, that kind of thing?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. Yeah, so as David said, I'm Gail Garland and I'm the founder of Digital. It's a mouthful. And we work with small to medium businesses on the social media. So their social media is wholly outsourced to us, or we work with their internal marketing teams. And I set up the business about 3.5 years ago now. So yeah, that's me.
Excellent. And I guess so. The first question, really, I suppose we should cover is, I mean, this is something I get asked a lot by members of this group and mortgage brokers and IFAs in general. Is obviously there are so many social platforms out there. You know, there's the ones that we've been familiar with for years, like Facebook and Twitter, and then there's a lot of the newer ones like Instagram and Snapchat and so on. How can mortgage brokers and IFAs use these, and should they be aiming to be on all of these channels, or is that spreading themselves too thin, particularly bearing in mind some of these guys are only running businesses on their own, or just a couple of them?
Yeah, social media can be a bit of a minefield. So I always tell people, especially if you're working on your own or you run these small team and stuff, just start with one platform and make sure you're doing it well. So, have a look at where your target audience is, have a look at where your competitors are, see what they're doing, take the good bits from them and fill in any gaps that they're missing in their content and stuff. But I think the key thing is just start with one platform, have a look at its features, have a look at what's capable with that platform, and make sure you're doing that well first before then moving on to another platform, and then learn that platform and take a bit more of a sort of there's a process, think of it more as a yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah.
So would you say that there is so as well as sort of looking at where your audience is, and I suppose that's going to vary a bit depending on thinking about mortgage brokers in particular, what kind of clients they're looking for. So I guess if someone's focusing very much on first-time buyers, that's maybe going to be a different sort of social platform they want to focus on from, say, someone who's looking at equity release for pensioners and that kind of thing. I mean, I know from what my own kids tell me that Facebook, for example, is kind of very much an older person's platform now. Well, I mean, I say older, but they call me a boomer. Okay, I'm very firmly Generation X, but they call me a boomer. But as far as they're concerned, nobody in their 20s or whatever uses Facebook. Do you think is that a fair comment, or
so Facebook, you're looking at around about the age, I was reading a couple of things recently, around the age 27 plus, right. So the people, so Facebook, 10 years ago, was the biggest, and it sort of, is, and It still is the biggest platform, and yeah, so yeah, 27 plus, and those people that started out on that platform have now grown.
Yeah.
And so yeah, obviously the people that have grown on that platform are now a bit older, and I'd say 27 plus is the age.
Right. Okay. Well, that makes me feel a bit better. So, and in terms of, the guys watching today who are, predominantly mortgage brokers, I guess, first time buyer, average age of a first time buyer is going up and up all the time, isn't it? So actually, if we're saying that Facebook is typically 27 plus, then even if you're looking at the first time buyer end of the market, you're going to find the people you want on that platform.
Yeah, exactly.
And I guess also in the context of this, obviously everyone watching this today is at least on Facebook, else they couldn't be they couldn't be watching this Facebook Live. So
yeah, exactly.
So would you say on the whole, and I know it's hard to generalize too much, would you say on the whole Facebook is a good platform for people to start with if they're having to pick just one from the whole thing?
Yeah, I think so. Facebook is the leader, in terms of what you can do with ads, in terms of, all this stuff, anything that's sort of new in like the social media market. So for example, TikTok came out, and so Instagram, which is owned by Facebook, now does Reels. So, they're quick to implement all this extra stuff. And so they're always bringing on all of this new stuff. So yeah, Facebook is got the widest range of things you can do with it.
Yeah, and actually, I've just seen Paul's just put something in the comments there on the subject of ages on Facebook, saying, "What about later life clients?" I mean, I don't know what you think. I would have thought that the older demographic they're on Facebook as well, aren't they? I mean,
Yeah.
Even the thing I tend to think with them is they might not publish so much, they might not be actually putting their own posts on there, but they're on there because they're looking to see photos of the grandkids and see what their own children are up to, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I have to say though, like my mum isn't on Facebook.
Right.
She doesn't touch social media, so I think there are still people that don't touch it. But then there is, I know a lot of my mum's friends are on Facebook, so like, older people are all on Facebook as well. So,
and they're probably more likely, if they're on anything, they're probably more likely to be on there than they are doing videos on TikTok, I guess.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, that's your mum Bucks Factory. Is your mum on TikTok?
No.
No? Okay, fine.
God.
At least you know she won't be watching this. So, that's... so in terms of Facebook then, if someone was going to say, right, we're going to focus just on Facebook, do you... Obviously, a lot of the stuff that you see marketed on Facebook tends to be product-based. I mean, do you think that for a service-based business like someone in financial services, do you think Facebook can work for that? Because often people say to me, "Oh, I should be on LinkedIn because that's where business people go." But don't know. What's your thought on that?
Yeah. So it can work for service-based businesses, but it's about getting it right. So when you think about social media, it's meant to be social, so if you're just wanting to be on there to hard sell, then that's like a no-no, and I think as people, do get older and they've been on social media a lot longer, they're getting more and more savvy, and they can spot when someone's just out to, just to sell to them. So it's about creating, authenticity around you and becoming across genuine, positioning yourself as an expert, and adding value as well, to your audience. What are you giving that your competitors aren't, without giving too much away, obviously. I think we were saying, weren't we, David, about a couple of topics for like what mortgage brokers could speak about, and it, speaking about things, you don't just have to talk about what you do as a mortgage broker, you talk about related topics and things. So
so stuff like around the property market, for example.
Exactly. So pulling other things in that shows that you're at the forefront of your industry or what you do, and and being in touch with those people constantly, throughout the process, before they're ready to make that decision, that purchase speak, purchase decision, you know, and social media, you know, it really lends itself to that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, so I guess with something like, well, obviously one of the biggest stories in the property market recently was when we introduced the stamp duty holiday.
Yeah.
So, well, at least here in the UK, I know we've got people watching from other parts of the world as well. But obviously, yeah, one of the big expenses in buying a house in the UK is this thing called stamp duty, which is basically where you have to hand a chunk of money to the government for the privilege of buying a house. And they suspended that up to a certain level to try and get the housing market going post lockdown. So, I mean, I guess if you were if as a mortgage broker you had put out some announcement about that and your kind of take on whether this was a good or bad thing, that you might have been the first place that someone heard about that. In which case, if that then spurs them into actually going and getting a mortgage and buy property, they're more likely to go to you rather than someone else because you're the one who, you know, helped facilitate the idea in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, it's something that I don't know whether they can, you know, you'd know more than me, buying houses, you know, that they can't action themselves, but it's something that, you know, is absolutely relevant to the process and stuff, and it is that little thing, you know, that could make that difference. So yeah, adding value, and it's about filling your sales funnel or your customer journey or your marketing funnel, whatever you want to call it as well. You know, social media helps, especially organic social media helps at the top of that funnel. You know, so you can use ads, you know, lower down the funnel to bring those conversions and get people, you know, to buy and stuff. But that will quickly run out. And it's about feeding that funnel as well, you know, and maintaining in people's minds for when like you say, they are ready to buy and they're ready to move down.
Yeah, yes, because I guess it's a bit like real world networking, isn't it? You could join as a mortgage broker, you could join a networking organization like, you know, 4N or BNI or something like that, and you might get lucky and on your first meeting that you go to, there's someone there who happens to need a mortgage right now. But given that most people only need a new mortgage every 2 or 3 years, that's unlikely.
Yeah.
So what you're trying to do is become the known person, the go-to person for mortgages.
Yeah.
So it's when someone does have a need, they automatically think of you. And I suppose that's what you're saying by becoming this kind of authority and knowledgeable person that on it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I suppose the message there then as well is this is not going to be an instant win, because I know I talk to people who say, oh, I'm just starting up as a mortgage broker, so I'm going to get myself on Facebook and start posting stuff. And I tend to say, well, yeah, that's great, do it, but that's not going to give you leads tomorrow.
No.
You know, that will be giving you leads in 6 months, 12 months time or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like you're looking at your pipeline and, you know, stuff as well. You know, it's customer journey, whatever you want to call it. It's the same funnel.
Yeah. I was to make you laugh. I've got a question here from a Mr. Steve Wiesner, who says, what's BNI? Yeah, we'll have to explain that to him afterwards. Steve's a member of the same BNI group that Abigail and I are both in, so he ought to know by now. So one of the so we're talking there about sort of, you know, posting stuff and it being a slow burn. I think one of the things sometimes that puts people in financial services off using social media platforms, or one of the several things, is because, let's face it, there's nothing particularly exciting or sexy about a mortgage or a pension. How do you post stuff that's actually going to be interesting or engaging when, you know, you're not selling the latest gadgets, or, you know, you're not promoting exciting holidays in the sun or stuff like that?
So in terms of content, you need to keep things varied. You know, so each channel has, you know, different ways in which you can utilize the platform. You know, so you can use images, videos, like we're doing now. We're doing a live. Lives are really good and really good for reach if you're wanting to reach more people as well. Podcasts, blogs. You know, look at rich content. So rich content is things like, you know, your lives, your podcasts, your blogs, you know, content that you can break down and use within social media. And it's really, you know, important to make sure you've got rich content in your strategy. and using the features that are on that platform as well. At the end of the day, social media companies, they're a business and they make money by advertising to you. So they want you to stay on their platform. So if you're producing content that is keeping people on their platform, then they'll prioritize your content, and then that'll increase your reach as well. I hope that sort of makes sense.
Yeah, so if you're using the things, so I guess from Facebook's point of view, if you're doing like you doing a Facebook Live,
yeah,
they'll look far more favorably on that than if you're posting a link to a video on YouTube, because obviously with the Facebook Live, you're keeping them on their own platform.
Exactly. And Facebook doesn't own YouTube, Google does.
Yeah.
So, you know, and so yeah, they don't want you to leave their platform, because Facebook don't make money when you go to YouTube. They make money when you post in, you know, videos native onto Facebook, or by doing the live. The really
I
good
guess it's worth saying as well, actually, with the Facebook Lives, although, you know, use this, what we're doing now, as an example. Of course, with this, we're doing this very deliberately within a closed group that's only available to members of this group. But of course, you can do Facebook Lives in a more public way to, you know, to anyone who finds your page, can't you?
Yeah, exactly. So you can do one just on your Facebook page. If you have a page, you can do it on your personal profile, you know, wherever you're wanting to build, you know, build your network sort of your ideal clients, and to network there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess it worked, but by having almost different types of content, it allows people to play to their strengths, doesn't it? Because some people, you know, would find the idea of writing an article about, well, use the stamp duty holiday again as the example. Some people would find it really daunting to sit down and write a short article about the impact of that and whether it's a good or bad thing. But they might be totally comfortable sitting down and doing a 5-minute Facebook Live, just explaining what it's about and how it can help people. And they might be far more comfortable doing that, I guess.
Yeah, and it's quicker to do a live.
Yeah, yes,
the good thing about lives, though, is that so they are better than just uploading videos, and it's a little bit more daunting because it is live. But people get a notification when you go live, so you can expand your reach that way as well. Whereas if you're just posting a video, Facebook doesn't notify people that, you know, so and so has posted a video, but they will notify them, you know, so and so is going live. You know, show up, because that's a feature that Facebook are wanting to use and wanting to utilize. And, you know, if you're using, like I mentioned, you know, if you're using the features, you know, as they're meant to be, if it's a priority for Facebook, then it should be a priority for you within your social media plan as well. You know, that form of content. So
yeah. So I guess keeping an eye on because Facebook Lives are still a relatively new feature, aren't they? So by a couple of years, 3 years, but, you know, compared to that whole age of the platform. Okay, well, anyway, it's so it's still a relatively, so by you're doing two things there. You're, first of all, you know, you're playing to what Facebook want, because you're using their new feature that they've put all this time and effort into creating. But also, I guess if you're one of the first to do it, you know, there's going to be a lot less mortgage brokers doing Facebook Lives than there are mortgage brokers posting blog articles. So you immediately stand out from the crowd more by using that kind of thing. Exactly. I mean, something I would say on that as well, because I'm sure that people watching this who think, oh, I could never go live and blah blah blah. I would say it really is one of those things where the more you do it, the easier it gets. And I mean, I'm definitely someone who's far more comfortable writing an article than doing this. This is not my natural thing at all. But, you know, by actually forcing yourself to do it, and, you know, now having been doing these for several months, I'm quite relaxed about doing it. And the other thing I think as well is they are quicker, because if you do a Facebook Live, you do it and it's done. If you're putting a video out there, there's far more temptation to do lots of retakes and try and edit it and get it absolutely perfect. Whereas, you know, anyone who's been watching my stuff will know that I don't do perfect Facebook Lives, but hey, you know, it's too late.
I think it's going well so far, David. I think you're doing great.
Well, we've got 22 people watching, and you know, they haven't all disappeared yet. So so it's just dropped to 20 as I said that. But anyway, I'm sure that's just someone's bad connection.
Just a coincidence.
So,
I guess so. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just looking back a bit at the questions. What were you going to say while I look back at some of the
I was
questions?
just going to say, like, in terms of content as well, and making sure, you know, it is interesting. You need a mixture of topical and evergreen content. So topical being, you know, it allows you to show your expertise. It's what's going on right now in the news, you know, that sort of thing. So I guess what we were just talking about, what was it now?
The
The
stamp duty holiday.
stamp
Yeah.
duty. I was going to say the share value. I was like,
Yeah.
the stamp duty. You know, so if that's in the news recently, so getting that out there as a piece of content, you know, again shows you're you know, at the forefront of your industry in your knowledge and stuff. And evergreen content as well is content that can be used over and over. So the topic or whatever it is can be used over and over. So it's not necessarily in the news at the moment. But you know, really good for blogs as well.
Yeah.
Content, because
But the kind of stuff that doesn't go out of date, like, I don't know, ways to pay off your mortgage early, or, you know, reasons why you might want to convert your interest only mortgage to repayment, those kinds of things that are just always the same. Yeah,
things that will sit there on your website, you know, and your SEO will, you know, do all its stuff, and you can just update it every year if it's a yearly thing or whatever, and you've got that content there then.
yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. And one of the other things I thought of when we talk about content just now is obviously one of the issues that anyone in a regulated industry like financial services has is they obviously have to be very careful about what they're putting out there as marketing, as advertising materials and stuff, that if it's counting as a financial promotion, that it's compliant with all the financial services rules and everything, and that they're not getting in trouble with the Financial Conduct Authority. What are your thoughts, obviously without being an expert on compliance, but what are your thoughts on how mortgage brokers and IFAs can publicize what they're doing, but without sort of breaking those kind of rules and having to get every single thing they do signed off by someone? Because obviously that removes a lot of the spontaneity, doesn't it, if everything they do has got to be signed off by 3 layers of management or whatever.
Yeah. So in terms of compliance, you can look at the Facebook terms and conditions, you know, so from a social perspective, to make sure you're being compliant with Facebook's rules, you know, what you can and can't say, you know, you can't make claims.
Of course, yes, because Facebook themselves will have some rules around it in addition to whatever the FCA's rules are, won't they?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So looking at it from a social, you know, perspective, especially if you're running ads and things, you know, it's if you're running ads, you've got to go through like the process of it being approved and stuff anyway. So just make sure, you know, you're sort of ticking Facebook's boxes. Similar to creating content, are you ticking, you know, Facebook's boxes in terms of what they want to see? You know, just don't say things you're not supposed to. But in terms of like the FCA and financial services, you know, not all content has to be about financial services products, you know, it can be related stuff. So, you know, there's sort of ways around that in terms of, you know, not speaking directly about some things
like individual products or rates and things. Yeah.
exactly, or giving advice or whatever it is, you know, that you have to do on Facebook in terms of that. But if you look at like the Facebook terms and conditions, you can do a quick Google search for them, you know.
Yeah.
Because each industry has like different rules and stuff.
Yes, I guess so that's actually another reason to keep your content varied, because if you know if instead of talking about, you know, purely about, I don't know, individual pension products, you're mixing it up with things about, you know, I don't know, but maybe there's been some study done on, you know, life expectancy or the quality of life that people in retirement are having now compared to 20 years ago or whatever. If you can find those sort of things that offer a bit of a tangent, then you're less likely to be talking about a regulated thing anyway. Or, you know, in the mortgage world, if you're providing tips on, I don't know, how to sell your house faster, or, you know, things you need to know when choosing a removal company, it's still related to what your target audience will be interested in. But you're talking about non-regulated stuff, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. I like that removals company one. That's a good one.
Oh, that just literally came to me.
It came to me.
But also that's an interesting point to make actually on what you said about Facebook T's and C's, because I think you said particularly when you're running ads, didn't you? Because I've come across this with a couple of clients recently where because Facebook introduced these rules within the last year or so, I think, where for certain categories of business, they've got tighter rules on how you run your Facebook ads. So if you're involved in things like, well, credit and housing are two of the special categories, aren't they? And of course, as a mortgage broker, you're involved in both of those. You're not allowed to target your ads based on things like age and gender and any of the other protected characteristics. And I had this with, I was doing a one-to-one with, I don't know if he's watching today, David, who's in the Predictable Pipeline program. I was doing a one-to-one with him where we were looking at his Facebook ads, and he'd actually had a whole load disapproved simply because he'd said he wanted to show ads to people who are like something, you know, age 25 to 50. And because he'd put an age limit, and because the ads were obviously about mortgages and housing and things, they disapproved the ads. So whereas so what we did in the end was targeting the full age range, but narrowed it down to just people who are interested in buying houses or first-time buyers or whatever it was. But, so it was a couple of questions coming actually worth picking up so they're sort of all tied together a bit, really. So Rajiv has said, what else do we need to do on Facebook other than regular post or engaging in material? And I know there's probably some stuff we can talk about in a minute about things like reviews and things like that. But his follow-on question is there any mileage when reposting and sharing an article from another site, and what are the pros and cons? So basically, I think curating content from other places and sharing it. And John has asked that I get told frequently we should be interacting more on LinkedIn, liking, commenting, sharing posts of others. And how does this help the profile? So actually, they're two different questions, aren't they? But so let's take Rajiv's one first of all. And so basically, curating content from other places and reposting it, good or bad idea?
It's absolutely fine. Just, you know, make sure it's varied. Again, don't do too much of it, because if everything you do is just curating other people's content, then, you know, people are savvy, they'll turn off, that they won't be interested. Make sure when you do curate other people's content, though, that you do add your own opinion and you give credit to the person whoever's content it was originally. So yeah, so it's absolutely fine, but just don't make every post that.
Yeah, and I guess maybe try and add some extra value to it as well. So if you are repost something, say your own opinion on it as well at the same time, I guess, and of course that might be you agree with it, might be you disagree with it.
Yeah, exactly. And also, if you are curating content and using other people's content, everything you do should be with your ideal client in mind. So if it's not going to add value to your ideal client, you know, just think, do I need to share this really? You know, is it actually going to provide value for the people who you're wanting to attract, you know, into your own pipeline and into your marketing funnel? So just something to bear in mind when, you know, you are looking at content to share. Just make sure it is with, you know, your ideal client in mind. Yeah.
Okay. And John's question about interacting more on LinkedIn. So I think he's basically about liking and commenting and sharing other people's posts. You know, so if you haven't got something to post of your own, is it still a good idea to go commenting on other people's things?
Yeah, it's absolutely fine. Obviously, things you need to consider is your ideal client. Are the people that you're going to be commenting on, are they your competitors, you know, or are they complementary to what you're doing? So you don't want to promote your competitors, you know, services over yours. So, you know, so adding a comment is just going to enhance their products or their post, sorry. And it's a similar thing to curating the content, the question that was just asked. You know, think about your ideal client, and if you are sharing an article or you are sharing someone else's post, is it going to add value to your audience and your ideal client? Because if it's not, then don't share it. And yeah, and make sure, again, you're giving credit to the original author, the original person who's done the post, and make sure you're adding your own opinion, and asking questions as well to your own audience. Do you agree with this? Do you, is there something else you think, you know, besides this? You know, add some questions to bring that engagement onto your own profile then as well.
Yeah.
Does that
Yes.
answer the question? Does that answer the
Yeah, and
question?
I think it. Yeah, I think it does. I don't. John can come back and tell us if he thinks it doesn't.
Yeah,
But I think it
if it
answers
answered
it.
his
Yeah.
question.
I mean, I think the key message is, yeah, it's going to help you if you know. So if I come and comment on something you've posted on LinkedIn or on Facebook,
Yeah.
that's going to help your content get a wider reach. But equally, it's a way of me getting some visibility as well.
Yeah.
With frankly, without having to have to come up with some content of my own, I've just gone and given an opinion on what you've posted. So
yeah, exactly. And I think if you are commenting on other people's things, you know, think about the people that you're wanting to introduce to your network, or the people, you know. So if you're going to be commenting on with LinkedIn specifically on second degree connections, you know, is that the sort of person that you want to bring into your network? You know, are you wanting to, you know, comment on a couple of their things to build that relationship before then reaching out and connecting with them, you know? So yeah.
Okay. I think that's good. And I'll take one more audience question before I move on to kind of others of my own.
Yeah.
So well, Steve is back. So Steve, yes. So Steve asked, in terms of getting more inquiries, do you think this is more to do with the quality or the quantity of the articles and other content that you post?
Quality over quantity every time. If you post too much and the quality is not there, then it's going to come across as spammy, and that's going to be a turn off for people as well. And you know, LinkedIn, you know, people, yeah, just don't overpost, because like I say, it's going to come across as spammy. And again, it should be done with your ideal client in mind. So providing that value, if that value isn't there, why would your audience, or why would your ideal client be interested in what you're saying?
Yeah.
I just
Yeah. I think you're right. I mean, I think as well, consistency is another important thing as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
consistency, absolutely.
I see some people, you particularly see this in January. I think in January, there's a group of people who decide they're going to start, this is the year they're going to start going to the gym. And then there's a group of people who decide this is the year they're going to get on this social media thing.
Exactly.
And, you know, and you see them suddenly start blogging, posting on LinkedIn, whatever. And for a couple of weeks, they're full on.
Yeah.
And then they go silent for like 3 months. So I think it's far better to be consistent.
Yes.
And, you know, post something once a week, every week, for example, rather than be all over the shop like that.
100%. Like, yeah, absolutely. So if you can only, you know, finding time and carving time out of your diary, put it in your diary, put half an hour, you know, a couple of times a week, you know, to do your social media post, you know, just plan it in your diary so that it gets done, you know. And if you can only carve out, like, you know, half an hour over 2 days, then do 2 posts a week, you know, but make sure that, you know, that consistency is there. Absolutely.
Yeah, and of course, I'm sure most people know this anyway. But you know, if you do have one of those weeks where you suddenly have ideas for 3 or 4 articles or bits of content and you write them, you don't have to post them straight away. You can schedule them to,
Yes.
you know, to go out over the following week, as long as, of course, they have the evergreen kind of content
Exactly.
you talked about earlier on. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Unless it's topical, you know, and you can move stuff. If you've got something planned, you know, an evergreen sort of content, you know, and there's changes, you know, you can move that along and then pop your topical content in instead, and then post that one, you know, next week, so that it makes the next week easier for you. So yeah, but if you only have time to do 1 post a week, then post 1 time a week, but make sure it's consistent. If you have time to do 3 posts a week, that's great, you know, but again, make sure it's consistent.
Yeah, I mean, you can keep that. It's a marathon, not a sprint, really, isn't it? It's another all these physical health analogies.
I know.
Okay, so on that actually ties into something I was going to ask, which is, I get asked this a lot by people, and I always say there's no right and wrong answer to it, which I think is true. I don't think that's just me fudging my way out of answering it. But the question is, what's the best days or times a day to post on Facebook or whatever network it is you're looking at?
Okay, so I see why you don't want to answer this question. This varies between business and business, you know, person to person, what sort of business you're running, and everything else. And it depends who your target market is, you know, and all that stuff. But once you get going and you are consistent and you know, start building up a little bit of data, you know, 8 to 10 weeks, you know, being consistent, then you can have a look. You know, you'll get a feel for it anyway, you know, without looking at the analytics. You'll get a feel for, you know, what times work well, you know, but then you can look at your Facebook analytics or whatever analytics it is, and you can see what is performing well when, and that'll be your guide, you know. Then change it for the next 8 to 10 weeks, you know, but you need to be doing it consistently to be able to know, you know, when the best time for you is.
Because otherwise,
You
if
know,
you just post once on a Wednesday lunchtime and it gets a good
yeah,
take
and if
up,
you didn't
that could
perform
be,
well, then
that could
you
be good
know,
enough.
it doesn't mean that Wednesdays doesn't perform well. It, you know, it just means, you know, you've not got enough data to analyze, you know, when it comes to, you know, finding out what does work well. So, but if you posted every Wednesday evening for 10 weeks, then you'd know if, you know, if that time is right for you or not. You know,
and then you compare it against 10 weeks of a Tuesday evening, for example, and see, compare the difference between them.
Yeah, exactly. So you could post, if you post 2 or 3 times a week, stick to, you know, three different days at different times, you know, and then switch it, and it's just testing. You know, everyone's got to do it. There's no magic, you know, if there was a magic time to post, there's a magic time for you, but there's not a magic time for everyone. Otherwise everyone would be posting at the exact same time, you know, on the exact same day, and then everything would be just like there at once. That isn't how it works. You know, you need to find what's right for you and your business, and when your ideal client and your audience is there, you know, to interact with you. I know a couple of people who do live series similar to this, and they do, you know, they pick evenings, so evenings for lives, because people aren't at work. You know, their ideal client is on Facebook or whatever channel it is, you know, at that particular time, and they do like a 10-week thing, and they do it at like 8 p.m, you know, so it's similar to watching Corrie or EastEnders or whatever's on at 8 p.m. I don't know, I don't watch either.
Well, you're basically watching Facebook Lives, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly, but you can watch Facebook Live, so then for 10 weeks, you know, people can tune in to watch you if you're adding that value and stuff, and it's like, you know, maintaining. Anyway, that was sort of.
So this is a different league from Corrie and EastEnders. This is, I mean, this is a different league from Corrie and EastEnders.
Yeah, exactly.
This is like, you know, there's 5 minutes to go and anything could happen in the next 5 minutes. There's going to be a massive cliffhanger ending.
Yeah, but if people, you know, if it's the right time for people, you know, to buy your product, or they're thinking about it, they will tune in and they'll watch Corrie later.
Yeah.
So
quite right too.
Yeah.
So we talked. There was something that Rajiv asked earlier on about other things we're doing. So that ties in with something I was going to ask about. Obviously, Facebook is not anymore just a platform for publishing. It's a kind of a two-way. It's becoming more and more of a two-way comms channel, isn't it? And in particular, I was one question I had personally was Facebook Messenger. Is that something that mortgage brokers and IFAs and others should really be getting on board and using? Should they be using Facebook Messenger and or automated chatbots on Facebook, or is that a bit overkill?
No. So Messenger, WhatsApp, these are all, you know, owned by Facebook. So yeah, you should be utilizing them. You know, again, coming back to like a point earlier on, you know, about it being a Facebook feature or tool, you know, and if Facebook want you to use it, then you should be utilizing it. And it's like any sales process, it's about having genuine conversations, and Messenger and WhatsApp, you know, lend itself to that. You know, it's like having a conversation on a phone, but it's just another way of doing that. You know, and by having like conversations, you know, you get to qualify your leads and actually find out where actually are they in the buying process. You know, so do you need to book a face-to-face, or do you need to direct them to, you know, your page or another something else that you've got going on, within your digital marketing strategy or whatever. But also as well, there's actually a WhatsApp for Business now. So most people have got WhatsApp on their phone, but there's actually WhatsApp for Business. So if you've got a business mobile, you can download WhatsApp for Business, and you can, if you're running Facebook ads, you can direct people directly to message you on WhatsApp. So you're bringing in those, those hotter prospects, I suppose, direct to your phone, and then you're there able to have a conversation with them, and then either move them to a phone call or whatever it is, whatever your sales process is, and it's fitting that in there. But Messenger it's another tool, it's another way of, having those conversations, and yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so that WhatsApp for Business, does that give you a different phone number then? And does it give you the ability, say, for multiple members of your team to all access the same, WhatsApp mailbox or whatever?
No. So you can only have WhatsApp, as in the personal WhatsApp that everyone knows, and I don't know if they love it or not, but they know it. Or you can have WhatsApp for Business. You can't have both on one number. So right. If you had a work phone and a personal phone, you can have WhatsApp for Business on one phone, which is where you can then, direct your Facebook ads to, or other call to action. You can direct them to there from the Facebook products, or you can have your personal one. But yeah.
Right. Okay, but I guess you could always buy you get a pay-as-you-go SIM and just have the number on that just for your WhatsApp for Business stuff, I suppose, couldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. And WhatsApp for Business as well, similar to emails. You can set out of offices, and you can set messages, preset messages and stuff for things that
So it's got a bit more of a kind of chatbot kind of,
yes,
kind of thing to it.
Yes, sort of. I think it's quick replies. So, you can have 3 different ones, and you can choose depending on, what's coming through.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. And the final thing I was going to ask then is, again, think about things going a little bit beyond just the posting on Facebook. What about Facebook reviews? Because obviously one of the things at the moment is we all know reviews and social proof are important. But if you're going to go to clients or past clients and ask for reviews, then what do? You ask them to review on Google or on Facebook or on Trustpilot or on LinkedIn, because even the client who loves you the most isn't going to want to write 4 different reviews. So which is most important, would you say?
You can't do that. Google versus Facebook, you can't do that to me. So it's important. It's reviews, right? They offer your social proof and everything, so it's important to be getting them and having them in one place, rather than no place is better than it's better than no place, having them in one place or whatever. What you can do, you can take your reviews. So if someone left a review on Google, you could use that as a post on your Facebook page, so you can show that Facebook review there with a link back to your Google, or take a screenshot and use it as an image, that particular review, create a photo folder with all the reviews in, so that people can see that. But it's important, to get those reviews going first off, and having a process, around getting those reviews in. I remember going to a restaurant, and I had a look at it on TripAdvisor, and they had like a ridiculous number of like 5-star reviews. And obviously I went there, I was like, what's all this about? And it was a really nice place. But what they do, they give a little business card saying, for every single person that comes through the door and eats there, reviewers on TripAdvisor, basically, so every single person that comes through, reviewers, and so getting that process into, your own process is, a way of generating that. But in terms of Google as well, this is straying away from social media a little bit, but if you have like a website, and you're getting your reviews on Google, it'll help your SEO if you're doing SEO. So if that's part of your strategy. I
suppose actually, if you had, it's important you touch on the process there, because if you actually had the process that you made sure that every single person you did a mortgage for or did a pension for, whatever, got asked for a review, most advisors are doing enough clients per month or per year that actually, even if they just alternated it, one client got asked for a Facebook review and one got asked for a Google review, then over a period of a year, you'd actually build up a respectable number of reviews on both, wouldn't you?
Exactly. And you wouldn't expect like everyone to leave a review, because so say you've got like, I don't know, a 30% rate of people that actually do leave a review out of, the people that you ask, you're still going to get a number of reviews that month, and over time that will build up. So like you say, over a year, that'll lead to a lot, assuming it's a 30%. I've just sort of pulled that number out of the air, to be honest, because you're not going to get 100%. I mean, you might get 100%, but I'd be shocked if you did. So
if you get 100%, then we want to know how you're doing it.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, what are you doing? But
brilliant. Okay. I'm conscious of the time, so I'm going to check we haven't got any final last minute questions. No, I don't think so. Rajiv has said, what's the best days and time for mortgage brokers to post? But I think he's just taken the mickey because that came in after he'd answered that. But Rajiv, the answer is 7 o'clock on a Tuesday morning. Everyone knows that. Yashin says that is using WhatsApp for business. Oh, and you can group clients together with labels and tags as well. So that's so clearly got a few more features than just the bog standard. The bog standard one. Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Abigail, for coming on. If people have got other questions that we don't have time to answer, put them in the chat, and between us, we will go back and look at those and answer any that we've missed. In the meantime, Abigail, if people want to find you or get in touch with you, where can they? I assume you're on social media somewhere, are you? You're on the Twitters or the LinkedIns or anything? Yeah, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Right. Fine. Okay, and you're on Instagram or on Facebook. Right, we'll put some links in the comments. So people my business handle is digital.dash. Right. Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you very much again for coming on. Thank you to all of you for watching. It's been fantastic, and putting all your questions and stuff. And I'll see you again for the next one of these in 2 weeks' time. See you then. Bye. Thank you. Bye. Bye.